So thank you. My name is Greg Hanson, so I'm your next presenter. I'm the CTO, Vice President of Informatica across EMEA and Latin America. And those online, you just missed a fantastic joke that I just told the audience to pass some time. But I'll be with you for the next couple of minutes, and I'm always so excited to be joined by a really exciting speaker, Mariana from Ericsson, who will join us just to talk through her experiences of the project and so on. The title of ours is Maximizing the Potential of Your Data to Empower Your Future. So if you don't know anything about Informatica, as an organization, we are a $1.4 billion annual recurring revenue company. So we are a large company, although you may not have heard of it if you haven't used us before. We've got more than 5,000 customers using our intelligent data management cloud, which is the backdrop for what we'll mention today. And that cloud is actually processing more than 38 trillion, we call it transactions, but you can think about rows of data, but 38 trillion transactions every month for those 5,000 customers. And literally that is doubling every 6 months, right? That's the pace of innovation and scale that we have through the platform. Because it's a cloud solution, we have to be very mindful of the fact that we need to support the partners that you work with as well. So on the ecosystem side, we're fully engaged and support all of the major ecosystems that you would expect to work with and probably already are engaged with. And one of the things that we're particularly proud of is the type of data management capability that we provide. And we've been in business more than 28 years, so there's a lot of innovation, billions of dollars of investment in R&D. And it helps us to keep our position in the Gartner quadrants that you can see in the bottom left-hand corner there. For the Gartner quadrants we're in, data integration, quality, mastering of data, lineage, cataloging, we're the top right-hand corner for the Gartner quadrants that we're present in. So really good precedent and ability to execute there. So, moving on. Next slide, please, if you want to advance it at the back. Okay, so what am I going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to talk about the fact that many organizations like yourselves, there are specific opportunities that you want to take. First of all, you might be finding that you need to drive growth and financial performance, 44%. Operational efficiency, people reducing costs, 42% concerned about that. 44% want to improve their customer experience, improve their journey, their omni-channel, and their loyalty. And then 40% are concerned around the privacy, implementing regulations, building trust with consumers, and so on. And whilst doing that, 96% of organizations are migrating their data and infrastructure to the cloud. So we have that cloud modernization going on, and I'm sure many of you are already experiencing it already. If we think about some of the challenges associated to that, though, what are the common challenges that you see on your data management initiatives in order to become data-driven as organizations? Well, I try to categorize the type of capability that you need to be successful from a technology perspective. We'll talk about people, process, culture, and so on in a minute. But from a technology perspective, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, do I understand my data? Do I know what data assets I own? And that really drives the need for a discovery exercise, the ability to understand where your data assets are, and then be able to index and categorize and tag those, which is thinking about understanding the context of the data assets you have. And then quite simply, once you understand what you have, you then probably need to move it. So we talked about AI in the last presentation, but you're going to need to sort of integrate that information together. And that's challenging because of the fragmentation that we're facing now and increasing pace of moving forward. We've got to be able to access and move that data, as well as transform that data. And then we've got to make sure that it's of the appropriate quality. One of the dangers of AI is there's a chance that we'll make incorrect decisions at an accelerated pace if we can't trust the data that we've got within our organizations. And then when we start to bring data together from many different systems, you'll find that you probably need to create a single view of data, a single view of customer, product, asset, location, reference data, because otherwise you'll make incorrect decisions around that asset, location, person. As I've mentioned previously, GDPR, regulation, protection of citizens' data and consumers' data is something high on all of our agendas. So how do we make sure we do that without necessarily compromising agility and introducing debt? And as we want to become more data-driven, really, that's the output, the consumption of all this data. But how can we offer that in a governed way to make sure we're not breaching any of those trust relationships that regulators and our customers and our partners have with us. And it's challenging to do all this because when we think about it, and if any of you run data science teams, I think this research number here is probably on the low side but you'll find that most people in large organizations wanting to leverage data, like scientists, 37% of their time is spent just finding and fixing data. And when we talk about the challenge of fragmentation, well, we're all shifting to multiple clouds at the moment. 79% of organizations have more than 100 systems. So getting that consolidated view, understanding a customer and their interaction is difficult. And then if we think about the problems that we've had most recently with COVID and manufacturing processes, supply chain has become one of the top elements on an agenda because we need to make sure that we can continue our operations despite fluctuations in supply chain. And can we pivot? Many can't. When we think about becoming data-driven, our own employees don't necessarily have the skills to come on this journey with us. They're used to making good decisions, or they may not be used to being empowered to make decisions. Have they got the knowledge and experience to leverage data to make the decisions? And then a classic challenge, again, is data quality. As I mentioned, we can't trust the decisions we make if it's not good quality. And then the amount of fragmentation that we see is going to increase because most large organizations are going for that multi-cloud and hybrid. We won't leave on-premise behind in the next year or so. We'll still continue to have on-premise locations. So we need to think about that collection, that management, that integration, that discovery of data across a broader, more fragmented landscape than we've ever seen before. And at the same time, volumes are doubling. So for the last 6 years, as an organization, we've been investing in trying to help organizations solve those challenges. So those 5,000 customers that I mentioned using our intelligent data management cloud, we've tried to address some of those issues all within one integrated cloud platform that runs on the ecosystem of your choice. So when we think about discovery and access of data, we have the capability using what we call our CLAIRE AI and ML layer. We've invested 1.5 billion over the last 5 years, building out this capability. And one of the key things is having an AI and ML layer underneath. It's all metadata orientated, so it's low code, no code. We don't build any code. What we do is we use metadata, and as we collect metadata, we can then use it to fuel our own AI and ML to make this cloud solution more intelligent over time. And we currently have more than 11 petabytes of metadata that helps us to automate many of these tasks you would otherwise have to do manually. So we can go out and discover what assets you have across your organization. Whilst doing that, we can classify, index, tag, and catalog all that information. We can pull all that information together, integrate it and access it, not just in a batch format, but the way to become data-driven is to have the right data to the right people at the right time. So it's important to be able to offer real-time capability to stream direct to applications, for example, as well as application integration between systems. Quality built in all of the time. Every interaction with data, measure it, quantify it, check it, and clean it. Building that single view of data. If you want to get a single view of customer, we've done that thousands of times before, so we can help you accelerate that journey to get to a single view of Greg, for example, by using our algorithms. And I like to say build governance in. Rather than governance is not a project per se, it's an operation, and therefore you need to build it in whilst you're doing that. And then our data marketplace to help share and democratize, get that data out to users so that they can make smart decisions based upon the data that you provide. So that's the platform. What I wanted to do now is to introduce Mariana, who's one of our customers, one of those 5,000 customers who Informatica has. And I wanted to bring her on stage because she's probably a lot more interesting for you to listen to than I am. And we've prepared some little questions about Ericsson's journey. So Mariana, welcome on stage. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So first question. How did you begin with your data journey? You wanted to become more data-driven. Did you start with sponsorship within Ericsson, or did you start with a kind of organic bottom-up approach to your data?
That's a very interesting question, right? I don't know many cases where the growth has been organic. We were very lucky at Ericsson because our top executive management team does have a vision for data and making data a top strategic priority at Ericsson. And that for us has been key, that we have the executive management support during all this journey to make data an asset for Ericsson.
Oh, fantastic. And many organizations don't appreciate what type of transformation there is that goes on in a large complex organization like Ericsson. So it's all about not just the technology, it's about culture and people as well. What was your experience of that journey as you started on the journey?
It's very interesting because we actually, well, maybe not surprising because Ericsson is an engineering company. We did start with technology, thinking, you know, let's put some new technology there and that will solve many of our issues. And obviously, we know how the story ends. We suddenly and very quickly were able to see that, okay, this is not going to happen because the cultural shift required to understand this type of technology isn't there. So immediately our investment started in parallel to be as much as in technology, but maybe even more in the people and in the processes. Especially because we do not believe that a data strategy is just driven by a special office in an organization, only driven by that. We actually believe that the data strategy should be a business strategy. So making sure that everyone in the business can actually understand its value, having a value approach, instead of just a compliance approach or other driver or a technology approach. Yeah. So that was key for us to bring the accountability to the business that this is your business, this should be your priority. And the reason why we do that is because we understand the value. And as you said, you know, basing your decisions in the wrong data is just making mistakes faster than you did before. So very, very important for us to make sure that we have the right data, that the good quality data, have good insights, make good decisions in the business.
Yeah, it's important for us as a technology vendor to really help people understand in the technology platform to support culture changes we'll talk about in a minute. But it's really important to bring the people on the journey with us. As a subscription company, for example, now, you have the right to turn us off if you don't get any value from what you're acquiring. So it's super important to us that when you go into these types of projects, you're thinking about it in a three-dimensional way. So you mentioned about bringing the people with you. How did you pivot? How did you start to invest in literacy culture to bring those people with you on the journey?
Well, we have quite a few examples. So one of the things we did, of course, we started with a strategy, and I understand it's not for everyone, but that's how we did it. We started with a high-level strategy and then implementing a data operating model within the data operating model that actually helps to bridge the strategy with the operations. We implemented the data domain managers, the data stewards within the business with the responsibility to enable data, cross-functional data. And then in terms of culture, I think it's very much about walking the talk and not just, you know, having some slides or some slogans, but really have clear examples on how you can leverage data. The marketplace for us was the last investment we did and probably the most interesting, I would say, in terms of impacting culture, because it's our single point of entry for data products at Ericsson. Enabling the best data products, so leveraging the data foundation, the data factory, data product factory enabled with the governance. And it is, as I said, single point of entry for data products that are reusable, you can sample, very much like an e-commerce experience that everybody knows. So we don't even, I think it's one of the only products that we have launched without specific training on. That's how easy and intuitive it is. Very, very similar to e-commerce. You leverage also on the social value because we're not doing monetization at this time. But you are able to leave your reviews on the data products. You can sample, you can reuse them. And for us also the compliance layer, meaning that you can actually see who's using what. That has been very, very important as well.
Yeah, so you can see kind of the lineage of how data flows, and you can see the user using what we call operational metadata and technical metadata. You can see the engagement with the platform to make sure things are working.
Yes, for the end user, it's a very seamless experience. They don't really know if they are in data quality or data catalog, right? Okay. It's just driven by their business need. Understanding, is this interesting for me? What is the purpose? Looking at the terms of use and then drilling down. And yes, they will go into quality or catalog, but it's a seamless, it's very well orchestrated, as you probably know.
Yes, I do. So just stepping back a bit, one of the challenges that I talked about right at the start was many organizations, and I'm sure Ericsson's got a lot more than 100 systems that I had on my slide. So all that fragmentation and so on. Just give the audience a feel for the complexity of what you had before, and then how maybe simplification of technology decisions helped accelerate the journey for you.
Yes, this is something that we have also identified, the need to simplify our system landscape. A little bit above 100 systems, I would say. And that's why I think for us choosing a partner that would enable that we can, so we have actually quite a few products from Informatica, and we chose it deliberately because we wanted to have a strong partner here that could drive the journey with us and not fall into the vendor discussion that this is not my responsibility, this is someone else, and we really wanted to avoid that. At the same time, it has enabled us to discontinue other products that we had internally for a long time and that have served their purpose, very, very interesting at the time. But now we're ready for something new, and for that we decided, to prepare accordingly.
Great. So simplification, platform orientation, rather than a myriad of different vendors help to accelerate and reduce complexity. So we talked about becoming data driven, and you mentioned about the marketplace for earlier on. So has that been the kind of key touch point? Has that been the thing that's helped shift mindset? Is that how you're getting data to the people to make decisions?
I don't think it's been the only thing. Mm-hmm. It has been a journey. Myself, I'm head of data and analytics self-service, so we're very, very close to the business to start with. But we do see a misuse of data, especially in analytics, that people share data sets with dubious quality, by the way, and dubious access as well. So for us, it's really, really important that as you democratize data, you do it in the best way. So yes, the marketplace perfectly serves that purpose for us.
Good. So I'm sure everyone wants to know, because the question everyone likes to ask is, obviously you went through this journey. What did you do wrong that you wouldn't do again, right? What were your learnings?
So this is a journey that we're still on. It's not something that we did, right? It's still ongoing. The key things that we would have changed, probably, if we would start now, is really to understand from the beginning that it's less about technology than it is about people. And I think we've heard that consistently this morning, which is very interesting. Make sure you get people's buy-in on this journey, and don't try to push another product, because we've all seen products and products come and go. So take the time, invest in making sure the message is clear, have clear business cases that create value, develop a value approach and a value realization approach. So not just from a proposition perspective, but make sure that you get, cash in the bank.
Tangible, yeah.
Exactly, tangible benefits.
You also mentioned to me yesterday something really interesting. You said it's people aren't prepared for a marathon. Go on, I'll let you do yours.
Yes, that was also something that we are learning with time, is that not everyone, and I'm guessing here is the same, if I would ask who's up for a marathon just now, let's say maybe not everyone, right? But if I say, let's go around the block, maybe everyone would join me, and I hope you would, right? That means that when we envision the journey on the data, it's very important that you don't think that we can only have results in 5 years because we're a very large company, or because we have a very scattered system landscape, or because we have a governance issue. Whatever the argument is, make sure that you make it a journey of baby steps, but every step of the way you create value. And that will excite and ignite the necessary motivation, dedication, perseverance to continue on the next, towards the next mountain and the next hurdle. So make sure that the value continues is regular, right? We have a regular approach, so you can take it. And in the end, it could be a marathon, and it will be a marathon.
Good.
But we just take it in small steps.
Super. All right. Well, that was it. Thank you very much for joining me on stage, Mariana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
In closing, thanks so much. From myself, if any of you want to join us who's here today, then we've got a roundtable at 13:50, and I'll be there as well. So look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.